I also want to introduce these two huge hope people, which, you know, and when we talk about resilience, I can't think of, people like you, Sylvia, people, like Gonzalo and Nigel, huge resilient people who work like 24 hours. I mean, I think they have longer days actually. They never stop. They're working in ways that I've never seen before, and I'm really proud, honored, basically, to work with this two incredible individuals. So thank you everyone for being with us, and I'm gonna give it now to Gonzalo and Nigel to wrap up this beautiful day. I'm very proud. Thank you again for the web, for the Elena. I know you're there somewhere. Thank you so much for the help. For everyone who's been behind the scene, I think it is great. Gonzalo, Nigel, please go ahead.
Thanks so much. Max, and again, as you said, Elena, Christian, Lorelei, the whole team. Thanks to the Friends of Ocean Action, the World Economic Forum, the Blue Climate Initiative, and the Ocean and Climate Platform. This has been an incredible day. I've been not only enjoying, but learning so much. And part of the work we have ahead is to continue explaining how incredible oceans are. As still many people don't know how important oceans are for climate action. They don't know that they absorb nearly 25% of CO2 emissions and are the house of a number of species that not only provide the substance for the world, but also provides food for billions of people. We need to accelerate conservation efforts up to 30% at least. We know that, and has been very clear today. Even there are so many technological opportunities that were shown today around the marine protected areas. For as Silva just said, the best we get from oceans is our life, and we have to make peace with the planet. I will remain those words with me, Sylvia. Thanks so much. And you also referred to, or at least I love to hear that what came to me, a race to zero is a race for hope. I'll keep that. One speaker today even came in live from a research ship off the coast of France to discuss what creatures in the oceans are doing, to capture and store carbon, what creatures are doing in order to solve what we are creating as a harm. We're seeing people from all around the world increasing their intensity and the knowledge and data to protect the ocean. As you said, Sylvia, we can't care if we don't know. So all of the information is being created and shared is so important. And then let me share also one moment for me that was incredible. We had Brent Smith, the executive director and co-founder at Greenwave, delivering many innovations, like working on transforming 10,000 fishermen into ocean farmers, that with simple practices and creating regenerative food production are bringing life back into the ocean. This is massive because we are doing a great effort to advance inland with regenerative agriculture, and we're also setting the conditions for regenerative aquaculture, and that is something that we should take into the future with our work to see how all the relationship that we have with the ocean turns into producing for regenerating. And in that sense, Alex, you brought some many good examples on how you are beyond diminishing harm for the environment and instead actually making the business of Patagonia regenerative, bring the decisively to positive impact, and how you were bringing those great examples that Sylvia just immediately stopped. I love that also. And we had so many other initiatives, like we saw the radical collaboration with Apple, joining Conservation International and local communities to develop blue carbon credit as the innovative way to sustain protection on mangroves. How much of the financial sector is mobilizing. UK government highlighted the 500 million Blue Planet Fund that they will launch next year that will protect marine resources. Progress made by the Seychelles Conservation and Climate Adaptation Trust, a debt swap of over 20 million and first of its kind to focus on marine conservation, with the government signing up to protect 30% of its seas. That's the type of signal that we need to accelerate worldwide. This is a growing commitment from the insurance, finance, and tourism sector with the initiative to protect those 30% of ocean by 2030. companies like Credit Suisse and Patagonia leading the way and showing what can and must be done. The Blue Climate Initiative, share the innovation challenge, promoting solutions in the nexus of oceans and climate. And those prize winners include high-tech seaweed processing to improve techniques to reduce emissions and pollution from ship and bridge painting, and ensuring plastic-based paint particles and oil rust are not releasing to the ocean. I have, again, learned so much. I have enjoyed so much. I am extremely thankful, and I'm definitely more hopeful. Thanks so much. Nigel, back to you.
Thank you, Gonzalo, and thank you, Max, and all of you. Max, you say that you think we've got some kind of magical energy. I'll tell you where the energy comes from. We are all doing meaningful work. We know that. We're doing the work of healing, and we get to do it with amazing people. I mean, it's just listening to you is so inspiring, and we're learning all the time. And that, Sylvia, that keeps us young, right? Learning, as you say, if we're learning, we're young. Like we have a child's mind, and we're learning. So we might be old and wise, but we're learning all the time because we know just a tiny fraction. So I'm so inspired. So I'm throwing away my notes. I want to tell you a story and then finish with a poem. So I have a sense that most people are either climbers or sailors. Some people are both, but I'm a climber. You're all sailors, right? You're all ocean people. I get sick on the ocean, but I love being in the mountains, right? So as a young man, I did quite a lot of climbing in very cold places, in Iceland, in Greenland, in Patagonia, crossing El Hielo Norte de Patagonia, and some first ascents there. Not difficult mountains, but mountains that you have to be completely crazy to spend 3 weeks skiing where no one's ever been, and carrying silly weights and getting stuck in blizzards and stuff. So I got to know quite a lot of glaciologists, because glaciologists are basically climbers who decide to go into academia so they can carry on climbing, right? So, and funny enough, I met my wife through a chain of glaciologists. One of them is Professor Alan Hubbard, who's a professor at Tromsø in Norway and Aberystwyth, and he's done a lot of the work with David Attenborough filming The Frozen Planet and doing crazy things. And a few years ago, Alan asked me if I'd like to join him sailing from Greenland to Iceland. Okay, even if you're a climber, that's an exhibit, and not a sailor. That's an opportunity you don't say no to, right? So I'm like, yes, I'm in. I'm thinking there's going to be 6 of us on his 45-foot steel hulled boat sailing down the west coast of Greenland across to Iceland. I'm thinking. I've done a bit of sailing, never crossed an ocean, but it'll be an amazing experience. And the 6 of us, so I'll be on watch with someone who's really experienced, and I'll be able to write my blog and take a film and stuff. I get out to West Greenland. I meet Professor Alan Hubbard. My wife calls him the pirate professor. First thing I notice is it's only me and him. And I'm like, where's the rest of the crew? He takes me on a little tour of the boat, goes to the back of the boat, says, Nigel, there's only one thing you need to remember. If you fall overboard, you are dead. I'm like, okay, I can remember that. Turns out there are only 2 of us, so I'm not writing my blog. I'm throwing up whilst dodging icebergs. Because I'm not a sailor, and it was tough. Eventually, we're crossing the North Atlantic Ocean to Iceland in a weather system that's just getting worse and worse and worse. So it gets to force 8 plus into the waves the whole time. So you all know what it's like, just battering a wave every few minutes. And I finally got my sea legs after about 6 days, and the sun's coming up in the morning, and I'm reflecting on everybody who's ever crossed an ocean. And especially those who did it without all the modern technology we have now, and the courage and the hope that they must have had to choose to try and cross an ocean without necessarily knowing. Also reflecting on the indigenous knowledge that allowed people to cross oceans with charts in their maps and incredible ways of holding ideas. So different senses of time and space, as you were saying earlier. And I'm waking up this morning, I'm enjoying a kind of peaceful moment of battering into waves every 7 seconds. And suddenly Alan comes bursting out into the cockpit, shouting, whales, whales. And I'm like, well, I can't see it. And I turn around, and like 5 meters away, there's like 7 pilot whales just in and out of the water following us along. So eventually we get to Reykjavik, and I will never be a sailor like you guys, but I had 2 real insights. One, the pure joy of sharing this pristine planet that we are trying to heal with other sentient beings who were just along for the ride and saying hello and looking at what was going on. And to this sense of wonder at everyone who's ever crossed an ocean, I was thinking of the Vikings who first crossed over to Greenland many hundreds of years ago, and everyone who's ever done that since and still does it. Even with all the technology, it's still an amazing thing to me. And I'm reflecting that what we are doing together is we're crossing a metaphorical ocean. We're crossing to a shore of a zero carbon economy and a regenerative way of living with the planet. And we're crossing an ocean that no one has ever crossed before. And, you know, we've been working on these pathways, and these are charts, and they might be rudimentary, right? And they don't show the detail of the far shore, but they show enough detail of the next few years and the next few steps. So these pathways we're working on are the charts. So this has to be a race to zero. Sylvia, it has to be a race of solidarity, because we will not do it in ones and twos. We have to do it all together. And yes, Sylvia, I love it. It's a race of hope, and it has to be a race of action. And so in that spirit, I suddenly realized my favorite poem is a poem by, my wife's a poet, so I have to like poetry. But I love poetry. My favorite poetry is a poem called Thalassa, which you will all know is the Greek word for sea, by a great Scottish poet called Lewis MacNeice. So let me just share this, and I think it speaks for itself. And you'll forgive me if I get emotional, because that's what happens when we do these things. It goes like this. Put out to sea, my broken comrades. Let the old seaweed crack, the surge burgeon, oblivious of the last embarkation of feckless men. Let every adverse force converge. Here we must needs embark again. Run up the sail, my heartsick comrades. Let each horizon tilt and lurch. You know the worst. Your wills are fickle, your values blurred, your hearts impure, and your past lives a ruined church. But let your poison be your cure. Put out to sea, ignoble comrades, whose records shall be noble yet. Butting through scarps of moving marble, the narwhal dares us to be free. By a high star, our course is set. Our end is life, put out to sea. By a high star, our course is set. Our end is life, put out to sea. Thank you for joining us all on this voyage across the metaphorical ocean, setting our course by a high star and putting out to sea, taking the risk that is inherent in setting out to sea, but doing that together, full of hope, committed to action. And thank you for being fellow voyagers and for everything that you're teaching us. Tomorrow, what are we talking about tomorrow, Gonzalo?
Well, your voyage would take us to land. So tomorrow is land use. It's perfect. The metaphor that you have just said. So with this amazing poem, this is taking us in an amazing trip into land use. For tomorrow, we will explore how we can regenerate that part of this marble.
Right. Thank you, everyone.